Welcome to the sideboard here at the Columbus Legacy Open, and I'm with Legacy Champion Nick Rausch.
Co-champion?
It's been a while, but you're actually playing today the same archetype you used to win the Cincinnati Legacy
I did.
Open.
I felt that the format was like really ripe for Dredge. Like no one's playing very much hate other than like Deathrite Shamans in the main deck. But usually Dredge can just win past that. And since everyone's playing that sort of blue control-ish Deathrite Shaman deck, you want to not interact with them, so that's why we're staying with Manaless still, again, for this tournament.
Well, for those not in the know, the Manaless Dredge deck, it does have the usual cast, if you will, of Grave Troll, Stinkweed Imp, Golgari Thug, Narcomoeba, Icarid. Adds a few more characters. Shambling Shell,
Yep.
the lesser known of the Dredgers.
Before we had 4, but now we only have 3. You still have a really good chance of just getting the opening Dredger in your hand. So you want to play them, but you don't need them as much.
And where other decks have Faithless Looting and the like, you instead have the discard step.
The discard step.
Cleanup. And Phantasmagorian, who interacts very favorably with the cleanup step.
Correct. So you get to, you pitch this card to your discard step, and then during your opponent's end step, or during your upkeep, whenever you want to do it, usually the opponent's end step, depending on what you have, you just pitch 3 cards from your hand, usually a Dredger, like a Bridge or an Icarid, something you get to bring back. You just get to stack your graveyard that way. The cool thing is you can activate it in response to itself.
Okay.
So if you have like lots of good stuff in your hand, you have a way to go all in, just discard your entire hand rather than just one a turn.
And also handy if you have a second copy, you can
chain them, get the right amount of cards in your hand from your hand into your graveyard while keeping certain cards that you want in your hand in your hand.
All right. We've added Nether Shadow, which is basically pretty much just like a Narcomoeba-ish card. Obviously, you have to wait until you can trigger it to actually get it back into play. And then moving on, we have pretty conventional setup with the Dread Returns, Cabal Therapies, Bridge from Belows. But our fatties of choice are, I believe, Flare. You've got Japanese ones, so I'm wounded. I think it's Flare of the Hate-Bound.
Hate-Bound, I think.
Hate-Bound.
This one? All right, Hate-Bound, yes.
Oh man,
that
that's an
one's
English one. Now I feel silly. And Gristlebrand.
Yep. Before we didn't have those, so we just had to play like Iona and Woodfall Primus. Now you actually have a game against combo decks and faster decks where you can reanimate a Gristlebrand early, dredge your entire deck, and then Dread Return back the Flare, the Hate-Bounds, and combo kill them that way. Good thing about Flare is you can win past things like Propaganda, Ghostly Prison, Ensnaring Bridge, which you couldn't do before unless you had something that destroyed it. Now you just don't care about it and nug them to the face.
Still kill them.
Reanimating, usually Gristlebrand after him, if you have them both, or just a Golgari Grave Troll, since you have so many more creatures. He's big. He's just like a 30-some, and hit them for that much damage. Another thing with Flare is the creature itself does the damage. So if you bring back the Grizzlebrand after you already have Flare of Haybound in play, you get to gain the life from its lifelink, which is quite relevant.
That's a trick worth knowing, definitely. I imagine you might occasionally get someone with your Japanese fellow here as well.
I have, where they just let a Dread Return resolve, and he comes back, and like, okay, well now I'll bring back something else. Well, that does the damage. How does Flare work? they just don't get it.
Moving on down, we have Contagions and Sickening Shoals as removal spells that we can play with our bevy of black cards.
Yep. Mainly for Deathrite Shaman.
Okay.
It's still a card you have to
respect.
You still have to respect it. Since you're only getting 1 card in the graveyard a turn, they can usually just remove that single card. So you need to have ways to destroy that in game 1. A cool thing about Sickening Shoal, though, is with Phantasmagorian, you're always going to have that black card in your hand coming back, as well as that destroys Grizzlebrand in other combo matchups like Sneak and Show and things like that.
I imagine that's very relevant. And now, last but not least, we have to add an asterisk to our deck name for the last card. We have Dryad Arbor.
Dryad Arbor.
Manaless Dredge deck. But it's got mana right on it. Those are Japanese, but I can see the broccoli.
It does tap for a broccoli. Before we had Bloodghast, and this kind of does the same thing along with it. You don't need the landfall trigger, but it is a creature that you can sacrifice to your Dread Returns. You can catch someone off guard. They think you're only going to bring back an Icarid and another Shadow. Then you can just get your 3rd creature out there, Dread Return it. But it leads, most importantly though, I guess I should touch on it. It pays for days in game 1, which you really weren't able to do before.
Wouldn't have thought about that, yeah.
But most importantly, it leads to the sideboard, which there's some green cards. We need a forest in play, and we need to be able to cast them.
I can see we've got, among the cards, we have Verdant Catacombs, which obviously can find Dryad Arbor.
It can find Dryad Arbor to be able to sacrifice to, Or we can get Walled, our forest here. There was a game where turn 1 I had to Contagion a Deathrite Shaman and I played a Verdant Catacombs to be able to play around days after board, being able to pay for the mana with that. Was able to kill the Deathrite Shaman. 3 turns later, I was finally able to discard something during my discard step and was able to get there.
Sure.
But some important things for that is it's also a forest. Dryad Arbor to be able to cast Reverent Silence for free. You're still afraid of Leyline. You rest in pieces in the format now. That's pretty big. You need to be able to destroy that. This lets you play for free. You can pay for days. Same thing with Nature's Claims. Being able to kill Rest in Peace and things like that. Nature's Claim also does get artifacts, but no one's really playing much more than like a singleton Nile Spellbomb or a singleton Crypt. So it's not as good as it was before when everyone had ley lines, so you're only playing 3 of them. But still gets the Rest in Peace and and ley lines.
The Reverent Silence is especially spicy, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Among these options.
Like, you don't care about the 3 life. It doesn't matter. It's just free. Kill everything, or kill their enchantments, all the ones you care about, and then just go from there and win.
So what about these Noxious Revivals? They seem a little odd.
They are a little odd, but when you really dig down and just kind of the synergies with the deck, it can do a lot of things. If you have a Narcomoeba in the graveyard, it can put it back on top for you to dredge away, get back into play. It plays around Surgical Extraction. If you have a key card in your graveyard, you can put that
sort of semi-mental misstep.
Semi-mental misstep there to be able to get that. You can get back your anti-hate cards. The anti-hate is based around if your opponent can't interact with you, you're just going to win anyways. So if you prevent them from interacting with you or being able to get back and reuse these, if they have multiple forms of hate, you're going to win that game. It can mess with Miracles decks, mess with Brainstorms, other people's Brainstorms. They think they're putting something on top. You can put a land back on top, make sure they don't hit the card they're trying to get with that. A lot of little interactions, normally bringing it in against Surgical Extraction, and then you just have the bonus effects of being able to do
every
everything.
now and then doing some of these other
doing
things.
some of these other things.
Well, I think we've rather thoroughly covered this take on Dredge. Pseudo Manaless Dredge by Nick Rausch. You started off the tournament 2-0, I believe, correct?
I'm 3-0 right now.
You're 3-0 right now.
I played against 2 bug decks. I think one was a Delver, one was the more controlling. Which is a really good matchup for you because they just don't interact other than Deathrite Shaman. You have ways to kill it. And then I beat a Sneak and Show deck, the Omniscience version, and Cabal Therapies just got me there. Like, got rid of a couple key cards and then was able to just attack past that.
All right, sweet. Well, there you go. I'm going to go ahead and let you get prepared for round 4.
Sure.
Got a few more rounds to go. So,
a few more.
Thanks for coming
in. Good
luck.
Yeah, thanks.